She looked at my hair, she took a step backwards, and then looked me dead in the eye and just went, Pfft. Hi there and welcome back to my channel if this is not your first time. If it is your first time, welcome. It is so lovely to have you here. Today I want to speak on something that I haven't touched on ever before on this channel, but I do feel a series coming on, a series of videos around this topic. And what is this topic? Well, this topic today is all about my experience of how my natural hair has been managed, or how it affected me in my profession. I work as a professional actress on professional productions, whether it be TV, film, or commercials or theatre. That is what I do in my job when I'm not in isolation. And yeah, I felt like this would be a good time to start a conversation by sharing my personal experiences of how my natural hair has been received on professional productions, with the hope of essentially starting a conversation and, most importantly, coming up with solutions that can be used to actually deal with this issue. So yeah, let's dive in. I love my job. I love being an actress, and to be honest, this is a brilliant time to be a Black actress in the UK or even in Hollywood right now. There is so much amazing content coming out of the UK, from things like Top Boy to Chewing Gum to In the Long Run. There are others that I could name, but the reality is that yes, it is a brilliant time to be a Black actor or actress in the industry. There are way more Black faces on screens now than ever before, but I do have to admit that there is a bit of a lag when it comes to behind the cameras. It's particularly when it comes to understanding and knowing how to handle my natural hair. Now, I chose to become natural. That was a personal choice, and it has been a very long, 8+ year long, fascinating journey that I have enjoyed immensely. And there have been challenges and there have been successes, and there is still more growth, literally and metaphorically, to go. But when it comes into my professional environment, I do feel that there is a need to speak up on how it is treated and the response that it gets from professionals in the industry. In my experience, Afro hair, my natural Afro hair, has been something that has led to a lot of unnecessary stress for me and others involved, predominantly because there aren't a lot of hairstylists out in the industry that actually have any sort of skills when it comes to styling Afro hair. One example story is I was booked on a long ago, which I went through the usual process. I was auditioned, production saw me, they had my headshot ahead of time, my agent put me forward, and I booked that job. Yay! I went to that production, which lasted a week, and I didn't bring any of my own styling tools or my own hair products because I assumed that the production would have it covered, that the hair and makeup department would know what they are doing because they're professionals. My experience when I got onto that set was that my co-star, who had Caucasian hair, European hair, spent an hour in the seat having her hair and her makeup done to perfection. I, however, when I got into the chair, was made up by the hair and makeup artist. She did my makeup, it was beautiful. She even gave me some bronzer that made my skin glow like nothing I've ever seen before, and I loved it. But when it came to my hair, she looked at my hair, she took a step backwards, and then looked me dead in the eye and just went, Pfft. And I must admit, her response to my hair was shocking. I felt surprised, and I was pretty upset, to be honest, because at this stage in the production, there was no time for me to sort of put together a hairstyle that was going to be appropriate for this job, that would have been done to a high standard. And the reason why that wasn't possible was because she didn't have any styling tools or styling products that I would have used to, create a style that was even remotely high quality. And so I was essentially being asked not only to do my hair myself, because she had no idea and hadn't prepped for my hair ahead of the production. I didn't have the necessary tools or products to enable me to make even a half decent attempt at a good style for my hair. In the end, I threw my hair up into a ponytail, and that was all I could really do. Was I happy with it? Absolutely not. Did I feel self-conscious about it? Absolutely. It was not what I would have called a professional hairstyle, or nor did I feel camera ready for the scene that we then subsequently had to shoot. And it was demoralizing because I had just watched my co-star having all her makeup and hair needs met without any questions needing to be asked and without any assistance from her. I didn't have the same luxury provided to me by that department simply because my hair texture was different. So essentially the message to me was, because your hair and you are different, I don't have the skills that you need to do your hair. But on top of not having the skills, I don't feel responsible in the same way that I do to your co-star to do and prepare for your hair in the same way, to the same standard. And ultimately, it's your problem because you're different. It's not my problem, because even though I'm the professional. And that was upsetting for me, because it made me realize that even in a lead role, that is the message that they are okay with sending on professional jobs. The thing about this problem is that there isn't just an emotional impact to these moments in my career. There is also a financial impact to this. I have spoken to several Black actresses who have mentioned that because they've had similar experiences, they've chosen to just bring their own products and styling tools or get their hair done by a hairdresser ahead of time for a production. And whilst it does save time, you are, in a lot of circumstances, there is no financial reimbursement to these actresses for the time and products or external services that they have had to employ because the hair and makeup departments aren't ready for them. And I think, again, that just demonstrates that we're lagging behind and there isn't enough consideration on a monetary basis or on an emotional basis for Black actors and actresses. And I think that there needs to be a change. So how do we make this better? Unfortunately, the nature of being a minority often means that you will be forgotten, or people will start to think that because there's not as many Black actors and actresses actually being employed in productions, that this isn't as big a deal as it is. I absolutely think that that actors need to speak up on their stories about when these things happen and tell people, like your union, like Equity, if you're a member. I know for a fact that Equity are bringing out a survey where they are asking BAME artists and performers to express themselves on what their experiences have been with hair and makeup departments in the UK. It's so important for us to track this data so we know what the sort of numbers of incidences are, so that when productions or PACT come to Equity, or Equity goes to the productions or PACT and say, look, we have a problem, it's not so easy for them to say, well, how big is the problem? Because they will have those numbers. They'll be able to show the data from the survey and say, it's this bad, and we need to therefore address it. If any of what I'm saying is resonating with you, then please do leave in the comments below #ICare or #ICareForAfroHair. I know from my personal experience, I know from conversations I've had with fellow Black actresses here in the UK, that this is not a singular story. And in fact, what I'm finding time and time again is that my story is echoed by these actresses. Here are just some of the quotes I've received from Black actresses on this topic. Of course, if you don't feel comfortable saying who you are and in relation to your stories, then I absolutely encourage you to do it anonymously. In addition to these quotes, it wasn't so long ago, I think it was only in March of this year, that Hollywood Black actresses were having and expressing these exact same concerns. Here are just some of the things that were said. So it's obvious that the industry is aware that there is a problem, but it needs to go further than just being aware of a problem. There needs to be conversations that actually talk about solutions. What are the problem-solving solutions that we can come up with as individuals at our various different levels, in our various different roles, that can assist with this problem? Afro hair is not so complicated that there cannot be skills that can be taught and trained. It simply requires a desire to want to be inclusive in the skill sets that you possess as a professional in your job. But I also think that there needs to be the opportunities to enable professionals to acquire these skills so that they are not just meeting Afro hair when they're on a production, which there will be more and more of because of the natural hair movement and because of this push for more diversity on our screens. We should not be doing hairstylists a disservice of not enabling them and training them up so that they can feel confident coming onto productions where there is more diversity, so that they can do their jobs to a high standard and are not relying upon the abilities of the artist, of the actors, to do their jobs for them because they haven't been trained in these skills ahead of time. One of the ways that I have tried to, in my own way, deal with the issue and help solve the issue is to offer up my time on a voluntary, free basis to training academies that actually offer Afro hair and BAME makeup courses. One of them that I've worked with is the Ivor Academy, that is based in Pinewood Studios here in the UK, which essentially has a 2-day pro course on all things to do with Afro hair and makeup for Black and minority ethnic and Asian skin tones. I have volunteered my time as a model, as a hair model and a makeup model on these courses, and I very happily give my time to those courses so that at least I know that the next wave of hairstylists and MUAs are going to have the skill sets that they need so that I am not going to have to worry about that in my job. I think it's essential that these skills are being provided by training centres all over the UK because, of course, we cannot expect our professional hair and makeup artists to have these skills if they're not being provided as essential parts of the course structure. If you're only making it optional, then essentially you're limiting the number of people who will actually take those courses. Very few of these institutions actually have even electives, modules, or specific courses that are designed to provide them enough information that specifically looks at afro or diverse hair textures. And that again is part of the problem. In addition to institutions and training academies providing more courses on afro hair, I also feel like there needs to be more conversations happening ahead of productions, especially during the contract phase of employing BAME artists on jobs. For instance, when agents are able to put in contracts that there will be financial reimbursement for any hair tools or hair products or hair needs that are catered and dealt with by the artist, there should be something in the contract that says those costs will be reimbursed. So at the very least, if black actors and actresses are choosing to do their own hair ahead of productions, or bringing their own products to production so that they can facilitate the time pressures and get their hair styled by themselves on sets, they should at the very least be being paid for those jobs, for that additional role that they are playing. And anyone who is on their own natural journey, as I'm sure many of you are, we understand that it takes a lot to be brave enough to step outside and say, you know what, I'm going to rock my hair as it was intended to grow out of my head, despite there being negative stereotypes, despite the fact that people might stare, and there is still a stigma around just wearing our hair the way it was meant to be. I don't believe that we in this day and age should be making it seem like it's a problem to just wear our hair naturally. And I certainly don't expect to be penalized or get less of a professional experience when I am in my professional job trying to do the best job I can just because I choose to wear my hair as it naturally grows out of my head. I think that whether you're natural or not, that this story and should resonate with you, and whether you're in the industry or not, I'm sure there are people out there who understand it from their own perspective when it comes to their own lives. I feel as though there definitely needs to be a adjustment to what is considered the standard, and I do believe that all hair types should be included in the standard professional practices of productions when it comes to hair and makeup. And until that standard is inclusive for all, we cannot say that we are doing enough and that it is good enough. I don't think that it's too much to ask, and I actually think it's something that is basic, a basic need and a basic standard that we should be hitting. It's a good time to be thinking about this issue so that when we come out post coronavirus isolation, the entertainment industry has already put in action and put in motion and put in the thought for the needs of our BAME performers so that we don't have this as an ongoing issue. So I look forward to seeing your comments below. Thank you again for watching, and until next time, thank you, stay safe, and I'll see you soon.